This presentation will discuss my research project as part of Teachers as Researchers 2. My name is Holly Robards and my research topic was, does open classroom or flexible learning environments impact literacy outcomes of primary school age students from an educator's perspective? Education in Australia aims to improve the outcomes and future life skills for upcoming generations to be successful members of society. Education is never stagnant in its development and aims at improving ways of teaching and learning with the goal of creating a safe, motivating and engaging space for students to learn. With this being said, the reform of traditional classrooms moving towards the open floor or flexible learning environment has caused great debate over the recent months. So why would this be causing so much angst within our schools and community? Upon review of the literature, there was very limited research to prove that open classroom or flexible learning environments were beneficial or sustainable in Australian schools. It was interesting to explore historical literature dating back into the 1970s, where Travis 1974 conducted a study where these open floor or flexible classroom environments had been implemented. Whilst her perspective was positive, outlining the benefits of socialization, problem-solving skills, and increases in motivation to learn, the latter research projected poorer educational outcomes and classrooms returned to the conventional style. So in today's educational system, there is a mixture of conventional and open classroom or flexible learning environments in our schools, with a deficit in research directly relating to the literature outcomes of students who attend class in these formats. So my research question is, does open classroom or flexible learning environments impact literacy outcomes of primary school age students from an educator's perspective? My sub-questions are, does the learning environment positively or negatively impact literacy outcomes? What are the impacts of learning in an open floor or flexible learning environment from a teacher's perspective? I chose a post-positivist paradigm, taking a mixed method approach to my study. Using both qualitative and quantitative research allowed for an in-depth exploration of human behavior and interaction, as well as receiving statistical data to form a result. I incorporated a case study design using interview and survey methods, encouraging an authentic representation of opinion from participants. I interviewed practicing teachers face-to-face and surveyed teachers using both open-ended and closed questions. The limitations of this study include the very small sample size and limited time frame to complete the research. Quantitative and qualitative data analysis has been undertaken concurrently using a parallel design, meaning that each form of data has been collected simultaneously but analyzed independently. From the survey, I obtained quantitative data that depicts an educator's view on literacy outcomes directly related to the classroom environment. Evidently, the pie charts show that overall teachers feel students' literacy ability appears to be at an adequate level in this learning environment. Interestingly, despite 100% of teachers enjoying the environment, only 75% expressed they would like to continue in this teaching environment. Critical analysis of qualitative data utilized the 3 C's framework: coding, categorizing, and conceptualizing. Results from this interview provided personal insight into how teachers view the impact on literacy whilst working in this environment. Participant 1 expressed that the challenges they face in this style classroom involves noise levels and differentiation ability due to the large number of diverse students in the room. However, did find that having the support of another teacher was hugely beneficial. Participant 2 expressed that the challenges they face in this style classroom involves them missing having their own class, limiting the connections made with students. However, the benefits of having an extra teacher for support, behaviour management, and content delivery was a positive implication towards learning. The research question and sub-questions have been guided by targeting the gap within the literature, which found there is no comparable studies within the context of literacy outcomes and learning environments. So how do these results compare to any other study that is available? Through thorough analysis of the data collected, my research findings surrounding the question, does open classroom or flexible learning environments impact literacy outcomes of primary school age students, present as true. The results of this study lean towards a negative impact on literacy outcomes, contrary to teacher satisfaction and well-being. The results show that teachers commonly have similar challenges within these style classrooms, those being noise level, space, furniture availability, and the inability to meet student needs such as one-to-one teaching, making connections, and student engagement. Not surprisingly, these results coincide with the previous research that has been attended. Research conducted by Mealings et al. 2015 specifically state that noise levels in these style classrooms negatively impact student outcomes and productivity. The survey results surrounding the topic of noise level in the classroom evidently proves that these classrooms produce a high volume, with 75% of classes experiencing disruption purely related to noise at least once a day or more. These findings also address the sub-questions: does the learning environment positively or negatively impact literacy outcomes? With 75% of participants stating yes, the environment does directly impact students' literacy outcomes. Study conducted by Travis, 1974, outlined that students in open class formats received higher rates of one-to-one teaching, which contradicts the findings of these results. Whilst the results differ, it is important to note that the research has very limited sample sizes and therefore threatens the validity of these results. It would be difficult to compare these results purely due to low sample size, despite the majority in this study projecting that meeting students' needs such as one-to-one teaching is a major challenge to this environment. Although initially this research was confined directly towards student outcomes, as the study progressed, further questions arose surrounding teacher well-being within these classroom settings. Unintentionally, the study portrayed a significant result of teacher satisfaction in these style classrooms, with 100% of participants stating they enjoy working in this environment. Whilst teacher well-being does impact student outcomes, this aspect of the research requires a much more focused area of study. Limitations of this study include the very small sample size, in turn limiting the generalization of the results towards the greater population. Due to a very short time frame to conduct and collect and interpret data, I was only able to obtain 8 participants for the survey and 2 participants for the interview. This could be detrimental when interpreting the results, specifically how the classroom environment negatively impacts literacy outcomes of students, and it would be recommended that further research is conducted to provide a more accurate interpretation of this. Comparison studies have undertaken both interview and survey methods of research, to which guided this method for this study. However, to improve the external validity of this project, a randomized controlled trial would be well suited. To conclude this presentation, the research question proposed: does open classroom or flexible learning environments impact literacy outcomes of primary school age students from an educator's perspective, concluded that these style classrooms do in fact impact literacy outcomes. Does the learning environment positively or negatively impact the literacy outcomes? The environment has been shown to negatively affect student engagement due to noise levels. What are the impacts of learning in an open floor or flexible learning environment from a teacher's perspective? The teacher's perspective coincides with the previous question that poor student engagement and addressing student needs is overtly challenging in this environment. As education in Australian primary schools continue to evolve and more classrooms are adapting to open floor or flexible learning environments, providing this data could greatly impact how the future of education is undertaken. If further study was to be conducted to reinstate the findings of this research, classrooms in Australian primary schools would avoid this style of learning based upon the findings. Thank you for listening to my research project.